Let's get something straight right now. There is no one in this world that I would love to see rot in prison than Donald Trump. The man's a scumbag, he's a traitor, he's a liar, he's an adulterer, he's everything in this world we tell our kids not to be. However, I sincerely believe that he is not going to go to jail. Not that he's going to be acquitted, don't get me wrong. The evidence against him that Jack Smith and the federal prosecutors have against him is overwhelming. Donald Trump is going to be convicted on this. If it isn't for the fact that the trial is taking place in Florida, he's got a Trumper judge that's going to cover his ass. Beyond all that, Donald Trump is not going to go to jail. And I'm okay with that, honestly. You might be wondering yourself, what are you talking about, Cliff? You've been making videos about this scumbag for God knows how long. You hate him. Yes, I do hate Donald Trump, but I don't think he's going to go to jail. And the truth is, I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that, honestly. Because quite honestly, for me personally, I think he's in a much darker hell than anyone else can imagine. You're forgetting the fact that Donald Trump is a classic narcissist. This man, if he can't, the real joke to Donald Trump is the simple fact that if it can't be all about him, if he can't own it all, be all, have all, everything else, he crumbles. We've seen that in the last 7 years. If it can't be all about him, Donald Trump will just fade into obscurity and destroy himself. The real joke to all this is that he's living in a personal, narcissistic hell. Not the hell that people are ignoring him, or the fact that people aren't talking about him, but the fact that they're talking about him in the wrong way. Donald Trump has to be seen as being the biggest, the baddest, the most destructive, the most powerful. Everything has to be perfect under Donald Trump. Otherwise, he'll crumble. And that is the personal hell I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That could be even worse than any jail sentence that Eileen Cannon or the Justice Department or anyone else can give him. Because people are going to remember him. People will remember Donald Trump as the absolute, positively worst president in American history. They're not going to look at how he looked amazing in suits at the White House. They're going to remember how he botched the COVID-19 virus. They're not going to remember how rich he was. They're going to remember how he destroyed his fortune, how he destroyed his family's fortune over stupidity, how he bankrupted himself and everything else. And when it comes to his political career, let's just say it speaks for itself. This is a man who shook hands with dictators, saying he was bringing peace to the world, when he couldn't even bring peace to our country. By way of, for instance, I use this all the time with Donald Trump supporters. By way of, for instance, when the George Floyd tapes were made public, when we all saw what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd, Donald Trump didn't call for unity. He didn't call for calm, for people in African Americans and the rest of the country to be calm, to wait till all the facts came out, to wait till the investigation, the trial and whatnot. And when the riots happened in this country, the riots that I condemn, I do not condone, I condemn over and over again. When the riots happened, where was Donald Trump? Was he calling for peace? No. Was he calling for calm? No. Was he calling for people to say, I understand your pain. I understand how you're angry. I understand. I saw that tape too. I am angry and furious that something like this happened. He didn't do any of those things. No. What did Donald Trump do? What did he do? Donald Trump did nothing but question the idea of using the National Guard, to quell the riots. He didn't call for peace in our country. He didn't call for calm for our country in a time where we needed it most. He didn't call for unity when we needed it most. He called for nothing. Donald Trump is going to be remembered as the worst American president in world history. In fact, if you want to go even further, Donald Trump is going to be remembered as being the worst world leader in world history. Probably up there with the worst world leaders like Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, like with people like Tojo, and especially people like Osama bin Laden. All his actions have shown that he has done nothing to help this country. He doesn't want to help this country. He only wants to help himself. That is where narcissism comes from. So as much as I would love to see Donald Trump go to prison for the rest of his life, it's not going to happen. As much as I want to see him rot in prison for the rest of his life, it's not going to happen. It might not happen. The worst is possibly home arrest. But when it comes to actually, but here's the worst kind of hell I can imagine for the Trump family, for the entire Trump family, not just Donald Trump, the entire Trump family. Whenever someone mentions the name Trump, whether it's Donald Trump Jr. or any one of his sons or his daughter, especially the daughter he wanted to sleep with, especially her, all they're going to mention is how their father, how their father, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, ex-wannabe dictator of the United States, made a total mockery of this country. That's the worst kind of hell I can imagine. Having your father, having your name marred, having yourself marred, because you happen to be related to Donald Trump. Just because your last name happens to be Trump. I can't wait and think of another torture for anyone, especially Donald Trump himself. And I would say I feel sorry for him, but I don't. You don't feel sorry for a narcissist that destroyed his entire reputation, his entire family's name, for the sake of political power, for the sake of money. But that's the legacy of Trump. That's the legacy of Trump's. But the person I feel the most sorriest for, especially now, is Barron Trump, Donald Trump's youngest son, barely 17 years old. A son he had with a woman who's not even half her age. But that's where we are now. Now, Donald Trump may not go to prison with this. He's going to be found guilty if the jury is fair. Now, I emphasize that word very strongly, fair, because don't forget, we're talking about the state of Florida. Florida is MAGA country. And not to mention Aileen Cannon is a MAGA herself. But even if Donald Trump doesn't go to jail, I'm okay with that. Because the fallout from all of this will be 10 times worse. Donald Trump's legacy has been destroyed. And I'm okay with that. I really am. Because for a narcissist like Donald Trump, that is hell. Having your legacy be destroyed completely, all because you just didn't know when to shut up when you're doing interviews, all because you didn't know when to walk away when you lost elections. That is your personal hell, Trump. And I really don't know what's worse, living through it, or knowing when your life, when your time on this world is gone, when your time in your activities on earth have passed, that is your legacy. One of failure, one of narcissism, one of being a man whore, one of being a greedy bastard, or more to the point, one of being a failed leader. But that's the hell you put yourself into, Trump. I'm sorry. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.